Hey everybody, it's Valagar Aloevain. So this episode I'm going to be talking about the game, going into some of the inventory abilities and whatnot of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So I will be doing a playthrough, which you can check out in my other videos here. But this video I'm just going to be going over everything, kind of what everything is for those new players. And as I will be playing in Newgame Plus, wanted to kind of touch on what I have that somebody who's just starting the game won't have. As well, I'm going to be going over the abilities and which abilities I like for my playthroughs and stuff like that. So the first thing, as you can see with the main screen here, your inventory screen. So as you can see, we have at the top right, we have my level, which is 99. So that is the max level of the game. There is a way to kind of level past that. As you see, it is still increasing. But 99 is the cap level there. So we're going to start on the very far left with the loadouts. Now, this is something I really enjoyed that the game included. So you can purchase these little loadouts for various amounts. I do believe they go up, or it might just be based on what level you are at the time when you purchase it. But I do believe that number is actually a static number. But it's been so long, like again, I've played this game so much and I enjoy it so much, I just wanted to share it with you all. So, first off, we have obviously our health. Then we have the three main trees here. We have the hunter, it shows my hunter damage. Warrior, again, my warrior damage for both my main and offhand, so that'll be these two here. And then my assassin damage. As I'm sure you can guess, this character here will be playing through as an assassin. So if that's something you're wanting to look out, just go ahead and check out the other videos. As well, it also then has our armor, which is again damage protection. Everyone's familiar with that here. So the weapons here, I do have 2 slots. So something that is different when you first start your game, you will only have 1 slot. As well, you won't have your bow right at the beginning, but you do get that fairly soon after. And then, of course, your inventory. Again, with the horse, something you get very soon, but not immediately. So, little explanations here. We got your drachmae, which is your in-game currency. As you can see, I do currently have a drachmae boost of 50%, as well as an XP boost of 50%. And that is something I purchased from the Ubisoft store, just to give myself a little extra hand when I first got into this game. Though, as I found out after playing it, really wasn't needed. Truthfully, which I'll get into the store a little bit later in this one towards the end, all that stuff in the store, not really needed. So, back to the loadouts here. So you can actually swap these loadouts here once you purchase them. As you see, I don't really have anything into the other loadouts at the moment. I just have one into the main loadout. We can also cycle through the icons here. So change them up. That way you can just quickly go to which ones are which and go from there. So again, this character is going to be an assassin. So I've got a lot of assassin base damage. So again, for those who don't know the game, all your weapons and gear are going to have that first one, as you see, the plus 25% assassin damage. Now they're all going to have something geared either towards one of the 3 trees, as well as additional effects. So for example, this one does additional poison damage. Now all legendary weapons, which are these gold tier, will also have a gold tiered, so just under that poison damage, it'll show that little symbol. Weapon damage becomes poison. How it's got that gold symbol. All legendary weapons have a unique gold tier ability, as well as all armors have a set gold ability. So for this set I'm wearing, it is the plus 20% crit chance with assassin abilities. So again, assassin, really want that damage. So now back to the weapon here. If you'll notice just underneath that gold tier, it does have another one of plus 20% assassin damage, just to give myself that little bit of an extra edge. That's something that you're actually able to put on the weapon itself, so you can, despite it being a legendary named weapon, you can actually put a little bit of customization onto it. All weapons do have one slot that you can engrave, which is awesome, so you can kind of tailor it to yourself. Now for that, we go to our engravings list. So these are all the engravings that I do have. This is actually one of the main reasons I didn't want to start a brand new game, and just wanted to go through and continue, as I put a lot of effort into these playthroughs, several hundred hours just unlocking all of them, getting the gold in order to do that. There have been a lot of exploits in this game in the past, which I've actually made note of and looked at, but have never actually taken part in doing any of these exploits. I've gone the long way around, as I feel it's more self-fulfilling for myself. I've got no problem if a person does want to use a little cheat or a trick to help them get through, as the grind sometimes can be pretty ridiculous. So now to explain these while I'm here, if you look at this one here, how it only has one of the 5 tiers on the far left, whereas most of them have all 5. What these little diamonds are is what tier it's at. So this is the very first tier. I just have this one unlocked. Now in order to complete the next, I have to go through what I like to call like a little hide and seek kind of quest, and I have to find these various things, which again I'll explain moving forward a little bit. So as you complete these various tasks, so for this one it was that. For poison damage it was something else. For weapons you gotta kill with weapons, all the way down. We can scroll find some of these, like damage on Isu. So in order, that's more of those. But you basically gotta complete little challenges. Now for these gold tier ones, you have to do specific things. So it might be collect this specific weapon to get this specific ability. So I've gone through and I've collected so much, I can't start. So here's a good one here for those tasks. In order for me to max out this one, which I'm not too far off, I've got to kill 9 more leaders. Once I do that, that'll up that to 5% damage. And then once that's done, on the far right hand, how these ones are full here, what you do is you can actually just head down to Hephaestus's workshop and actually just purchase these upgrades. And they are fairly expensive, so that's where a lot of my in-game money will be going, and has already gone, is to just upgrade these, because I'm a bit of a completionist. I want to cap everything out. So they do sort of really nicely here. I'm not sure where that's going away. So we always get a little something that happens. But so they do sort them real nicely between melee, bow, head, arms, torso. All of these different types have different effects that you can put on. So if you'll notice here, legs, you got your movement speed while crouching, whereas obviously you don't have that on a belt or on your armor and stuff like that. So you really get to kind of customize your character, put a little bit more points into specific things. So next thing I'm going to go to is I'm going to go over to the abilities tree. Now, something that I have, because this is a new game plus, is my sphere is already maxed out level. I've gone through so many times, upgraded that, we're awesome. So, this here, the little bonuses I have is it does give me, a little bit of health regen whenever I use my adrenaline, as well as it increases the maximum amount of adrenaline, as well, if you notice, maximum ability rank 3, so these abilities that I have 3 points in, which are almost all my abilities that I put points into. Level 3 is the max, making it, as potent as it's going to be. As well, it also gives me access to, in the bottom right here, a second wheel slot. So this is great, obviously, because it allows you to quick change between, say, for example, like I have this one. This is if I'm getting into, rough combat, as this character really isn't designed for melee style. And this one here, I'm going to be putting a few more of my other assassin abilities in. This will be my stealth before combat. As well, it also gives you one for ranged, which is awesome. So you do have access to, essentially, you can have one for each of the trees and go from there. So the other things that obviously I do have that right off the hop is this bottom here. These are all completed and all highlighted. You don't have access to that right away. So the horse, though you get fairly early on in the game, you don't start with it. But again, fairly early. Your ability to meditate, that is something you do start with. In a lot of games, it basically allows you to pass time. Though it doesn't allow you to pass time on an hourly basis, it's literally you swap day to night or night to day. So Eyes Icaros, so if we got any fans of the Assassin's Creed in here, you notice they always have those, way up high synchronization points, those towers hard to climb. Well, this game's no different. They got that here. I've already gone through and gotten them all, which actually has allowed me to upgrade your bird companion to allow it to do additional tasks. It's able to spot things a little bit easier as well. You can actually fly it down and have it attack enemies. Your ability to assassinate, again, something you do start with. It's pretty staple. I mean, it'd be pretty bad if you couldn't assassinate somebody in a game called Assassin's Creed. Now, your leap of faith. Now, this is something I actually got questioned on a lot, because I do have a few friends who have actually wanted me to make these videos, and they've all commented on when they watch my stream, how come you don't take damage when you fall? Or how come you don't die? They remember in a lot of the old ones, you would, jump from this height here, you're dead. Now, what happens in this game, I'm not going to spoil it for those who haven't seen it, but they do put an explanation in why your character is able to perform these feats opposed to, jumping and dying. So when you first start the game, you don't have this all the way up the same level at, maxed out. So you do actually take damage when you fall. However, you don't take fatal damage. So it'll knock you down right to 1 hit point, and as long as you're not hit immediately after, you'll be fine. As you level it up, you take no damage, and then further level ups allow you to, while you're falling, you can, basically do a ground smash and do a little AoE stun, which is kind of handy. Your ability to whistle. Now, a lot of Assassin's Creed fans from some of the games, you'll notice that you're able to call an enemy over, be it for distraction or to just assassinate them, as you see in the little video here, and it's pretty handy. So Man-at-Arms, this actually gave you the ability. This is unlocked partially when you upgrade your spear here. So this gives you the ability to swap between these weapons that you have up here, as you only do start with one. So once you get a little bit further, it gives you that second one, and it allows you to swap between the two. As well, it also gives you the second weapon ability wheel here, or ability wheel for that. And then finally, you got your defensive maneuvers, which again you do start with. It's your ability to dodge and parry, and it just kind of goes over that. So you'll see in my playthrough, I use dodge so much. I don't parry as often as I should. I can never get it timed well enough. And with the dodge, when you do a perfect time dodge, as they call it here, it actually slows down time temporarily, allowing you to get a few shots off before it goes back. The other thing we have, once you get way up there, you actually are able to get mastery levels, which I'll also talk about there. So the first thing I'm going to go into is I'm going to dive into the hunter tree. So each tier is level locked. So you need, say level 10 to get here, 20, 30, all the way up to whatever. I'm not sure the specific levels, as it's been so long. I've had this game for several years. Well, okay, maybe not several years, but I've had it almost since it came out. It's a phenomenal game. But anyway, this first tier here, we have Sixth Sense. It's a handy ability. I never personally used it, but it gives you that extra little second. So I guess if you're using bows in combat, it could be pretty handy. The spread shot, basically, you shoot an arc of arrows in front of you. Awesome. Predator shot, it allows you to control your arrow and actually kind of like curve it a little bit to better hit your targets, as well as it does a nice little extra increased amount of damage. Devastating shot, it just packs a punch. That's about it. You got your multi-shot. This is one that I had made use of. It was kind of handy. You could target multiple people and fire a shot at each person individually, though they do have to be semi-close to one another. You can't just like shoot one to your right and then completely behind you shoot another one kind of thing. So you do have to have them all in your field of view. You got Arrow Master, which is your ability to craft specific arrows. So as soon as you do get access to the bow in the game, you are able to craft your arrows. As you level up, that the amount to which you are able to craft goes up. So, like all the way up to, I think you can have 70 of your basic arrows when you first start, or when you finally upgrade it. I think it's only like 30 something when you first start, but as you upgrade this, it allows you to increase those types of arrows. So for example, you get your paralyzing arrows, which are a nice knockout arrow if you're wanting to knock somebody out. That's handy if you're wanting to bring them aboard your ship, which we'll talk about once we get a little bit farther into the story. You also get your flaming and poison arrows, as well as some explosion arrows. Now I'm going to skip over the Beastmaster just temporarily, as that's kind of doesn't really go with the archery aspect here. This next one is Rate of Destruction. Personally, again, I play on Nightmare difficulty, so I never really had a great use for this ability on my hunter. But I mean, on a lower difficulty, I can definitely see how it would come in handy. As a lot of times, these guys do they do tend to walk in packs, so having a nice AOE where you can hit everybody definitely could come in handy. This one's pretty straightforward. Archery Master just straight out increases your damage. And as you see, no longer consumes normal arrows when using hunter abilities. So that would be abilities like your multi-shot, your devastating shot, stuff like that. You no longer use basic arrows, though you can use, like on your devastating shot, your special arrows, like your fire, your poison, and so on. Then you have your overpower abilities. Now you have an overpower for your bow and an overpower for melee. So basically these both function relatively the same. Instead of requiring one adrenaline segment to activate the ability, the overpower abilities require 3. However, they do quite a bit more. So for the bow here, it's 1000% of your hunter damage. So that's a massive one. As well, once it hits the target, it explodes on impact, so it also becomes an AoE. This even includes just your normal everyday arrow, let alone if it's like a flaming arrow, which, stuff like that. Stuff like that you can definitely basically make your own little combos. It's handy.
Again, rapid fire. I never really made use of this so much on my hunter playthrough, as I was more of a less out of combat type person. Sorry, more out of combat type person. So I tended to be like the sniper where they didn't know where I was coming from. And that actually brings me to this ability, which I loved. It was the Ghost Arrow of Artemis. This allowed me to shoot through walls, shields, and enemies. When you shot through an enemy, it would, if there was another enemy on the other side, you would hit them both. Like, it was really, really handy, and they have no idea where you're shooting from. So you could pick a nice little target outside of the wall, you know, find your people, shoot through the wall, take them out. They never knew you were there. It's real handy. I use that a lot on my hunter. Now, the last one that I did kind of skip over was on the hunter tree. It was your Beastmaster. Now, the reason I skipped that over is it doesn't really have anything to do with ranged attacks. You're not using your bow. It's just your ability to tame animals. So, as you notice, you know, first you can tame wolves. Only one animal can be tamed at a time. That never changes, so you can't be walking around with a pack of animals. But it does increase the quality of the animal you can tame. So it's wolves. You've got, you know, boars, all the way up to like bears. So it does increase the strength of the animal that you can tame. Um, as well, Icaros. Now, obviously, your Icaros, that's your constant animal companion. Why I'm bringing this one up is the same reason this is in the hunter tree. As you increase your hunter damage, the damage of both your bird and your pet do go up a little bit. So you will notice a difference in damage when you have a higher hunter damage. So that, I think, is one of the main reasons why this Beastmaster ability is in the hunter tree. Next we have our warrior tree. So I've done a playthrough of warrior. I really enjoy it. All of these are very viable for various reasons of the game, but I are for various parts of the game. But I find the warrior, just in general, is the most viable, as it's kind of able to do a little bit of everything. Though you can't sneak through a fort and assassinate them, you can just kick in the front door, and if you can time yourself well enough, you can just walk through everything, and you know what, no problem there. Whereas if you're an assassin and you get caught, sometimes it's a little bit harder to melee your way out of these things. But again, it is still doable. All these builds are viable. So the abilities in the warrior tree, you got your bull rush, kind of allows you to just do a quick sprint forward and just run into the enemy. Spartan kick, I mean, what game in Greece when your character's a Spartan wouldn't be complete with the good old Spartan kick? And yes, you can kick them off cliffs. Enemies and all other things do take fall damage. So again, that is explained later on why your character in particular does not take the fall damage. So I usually use this feat on so many things. It's handy for naval combat, as enemies can't swim, so kick them off into the water. One hit, you just killed that enemy. It's also handy for, you know, elsewise, as well as it also counts as a non-fatal attack. So besides kicking them off a cliff or kicking them into the ocean, if you're just in the middle of a street and you kick them, it counts as non-fatal damage. So they do take damage, but it'll also knock them out. So this is a phenomenally handy ability. I always recommend getting that one. Charged heavy attack. Now this is one that it does do a lot of damage, but I never found a great use for it on my playthroughs, even on my melee, as again, you don't always have a time to charge an ability. So if you're in the midst of combat, you don't really have the time to sit back and charge up your attack while not getting hit. Another must-have I find is the shield breaker. Now there are a lot of enemies that have shields, and your main attacks just do not cut it. They won't break through. This just allows you to bypass that and get through that. As well as, doing a little extra damage and even, knocking enemies down. Then you got Weapon Master. This just, again, handy on all builds, because though it mainly increases your warrior damage, it also increases crit chance on all weapons. So that's, your bows, on everything. So it never hurts to have an increased chance to crit. As well, if you're into the melee, it also adds additional damage for combo finishers. Second Wind, again, must have, in my opinion, on all characters, all builds. It's your ability to self-heal. You can instantly restore 50% of your hit points, as well as if you're poisoned or you're on fire, just boom, it's gone. Ring of Chaos, handy ability. It creates kind of, you draw your energy and you slam the ground. It, not a very big radius, but it stuns them and does damage, so, doesn't need a big radius. Gear Master, basically, just increase your armor. Real handy. I like it because it reduces all range damage received by 10%, as well. Whenever you attack, there's a 10% chance that it'll stagger them, which if they're attacking you, it will kind of like break off their attack. So I just enjoy that. Now, just like there are flaming and poison arrows, there are also flaming and poison attacks, so they're both very, very similar. One's fire, one's poison. So the fire damage does actually a little bit more damage than the poison. And when you do this, it'll actually apply it to arrows as well. So as you can read, it applies to melee damage, and normal arrows will also inflict this fire damage. And then, if you can see the video, and you'll see it as I'm playing through a lot, once you hit them with either a fire or poison, it'll pop a little circle above their head, and it'll slowly fill that up. Once it hits to the top, it'll then put a white circle around it, saying they are that thing. So they are on fire, they are poisoned. And that's when they start taking damage. So they won't actually take damage on that first hit unless you completely fill up that meter. Once it's full, they will take. So the differences between fire and poison: fire hits a little bit harder, but poison will weaken the enemy, actually reducing their defenses. So your melee attacks or your sneak attacks will actually do more physical damage rather than, the damage over time from the poison. Now, the next level up is the same here, Poison Mastery versus Fire Mastery. What this does is it increases that build-up rate, so you have to hit them fewer times for it to max out, as well as it also increases the duration. And for Poison, it also increases the weakening effect, so how much less armor they have, and so on and so forth. So now here's the melee version of the overpower shot. So it doesn't do that big 1000% punch with an explosion, but depending on what type of melee weapon you have, it does change it. So if you can see in the small video they have, that's the sword. Each melee style has a different one, and they are very, very devastating and can do a lot of damage to, in some cases, the sword, one target, dagger, one target. Stuff like your two-handed weapons, you can usually hit multiple targets and just, wreck an entire group. So another one I have is Fury the Bloodline. Now, as a non-melee character, the damage on this is very subpar. You almost need to be, like, if you're using this as a damaging ability, you almost need to be in the warrior tree. However, what makes this ability so amazing is, now, all your abilities cost 1 adrenaline to activate. This is no different. However, what this one does is it also regenerates adrenaline. So at the beginning it only does generate 3 adrenaline, so 2 additional ones
from the cost that you used. So you spend 1, you get 3. Once you got it fully upgraded, you know, you spend 1, you get 4. Well, that's just 3 more than you had, so you can use, an overpower attack, or, 3 more critical assassinations or hero strikes and stuff like that. It really makes things handy. The next one is Battle Cry of Ares. Again, great for melee, or any class if you really get into it. Basically, you become invulnerable to death. So they can take you down to 1 hit point. You can't die. All attacks you inflict are 20% more damage, and this does only last, a very short amount of time. But again, handy to have, as it basically makes you immortal for that little bit of time. So lastly, and this one here is the Assassin's tree. That's the tree I'm going into. So what I have here is the Shadow Assassin, so must-have for any assassin-type build. It just increases your assassination damage by 40%. As well, the great thing, you automatically loot them once you kill them, so you don't gotta stab them, loot them, then pick them up and hide the body. It's just stab them, hide the body. And when in combination with this one here, Death Veil, not only do you stab them, auto-loot them, but now there's not even a body to hide because they just auto-vanish. So this is another must-have for any assassin there. As well with the Shadow Assassin, it also increases the crit damage by 50%. And it increases how much adrenaline you gain per assassination. So it's just an all-around must-have for any assassin-type build.
So now here's my poison damage one. If you notice, I do only have 1 ability into it, and that's because if you do remember on my main weapon damage is just poison damage. So I don't need it to use an ability to make it poisoned, because it's just always poisoned. The reason I have it is, I'm sure you've noticed, a few of these skills, they are linked. Like these ones here. In order for me to get this one, I do have to have at least 1 rank into this one, and same goes with this one. In order for me to get this one, I have to have at least 1 rank into this one. As you can see, it's not a 1-for-1, so it's not 1 rank into venomous attacks, 1 rank into poison mastery, 2 ranks into venomous attacks, then I can put my second point in poison mastery. I just need 1 to unlock it, then I can max it out. So then we have Revelation. Now this will allow you to reveal any type of little lootables, as well as enemies. The enemies is not as handy because, again, you got to be fairly close for it to active. But it's real handy as it kind of sets out that little sonar. How it does notify that it's hidden passages, that was a little bit harder. I haven't really made use of that one using for those. There are other ways to notice those hidden passages. The little sound notification, as well as the little white arrow that you notice as well. Another handy one for assassins, especially if you're not too good yet, where you're still getting caught in the open, is the Vanish ability. So you throw basically a smoke bomb, temporarily stuns up. It gives you enough time to hide. Okay, so Rush Assassination. So this one is actually a really handy ability and something I will be getting. I just didn't yet have the points for. Is you throw your spear, and then you essentially teleport over to that location. I know you're not actually teleporting, but you throw it there, you appear over there, you're teleporting. So right off the hop, you are only allowed to kill 1 individual with it. However, as you level it up to 3, you can get that all the way up to 3 individuals. So as soon as you throw that first one, it hits them. You're able to pick another target nearby, throw it immediately. It is time locked, so if you don't throw it again right away, it won't just auto do that, but it won't waste it for you either. So that was a handy one, and something I'm definitely going to be picking up. So the next one here is critical assassination. Now this functions just like your normal assassination, where you got to be out of combat, sneak up behind them pretty much, and then you assassinate them. The only difference, rather than just tapping the button to assassinate, if you hold it down, you actually perform a stronger assassination. Now this one does require the use of adrenaline, but it also, you know, as you can see, is 300% damage when it's fully maxed out. So you do 3 times damage, but it costs you adrenaline. Well, that's really handy for some of the stronger enemies that you can't get that one-shot assassination on. This will definitely help you achieve that. Alright, so the next one is the Death Veil. Now this one, again, as I touched on, is phenomenally awesome. You assassinate them, they disappear. What I didn't mention is abilities like critical assassination or rush assassination. Those also count, so they'll also disappear there for you as well. Slow time, is exactly what it is. It allows you to slow time. It's temporary slow, but I never really found a great use for that myself. I definitely could see where it could come in handy, but because when you do a perfect time dodge, you do get a temporary slow. I made use of the temporary slow rather than the spending adrenaline to be able to do it. Stealth Master, another must-have. You become silent. Less noise when you're walking. Their detection is, you know, harder to detect you while you're crouching. Then at night, any assassination damage that you do out of combat, assassination and out of combat damage is increased. Now what they mean by out of combat damage is it's their way of saying archery. So any damage that you do, like if you sneak up, even if it wasn't assassination damage, you get that like sneak attack damage. So you can sneak up and hit them with the sword, you do a little bit more. But that's where, if you're doing a hunter build, I recommend still picking up the Stealth Master, as if you're hiding in a bush somewhere, way out somewhere, they don't know where you are, you're not technically in combat, you get that first shot off, and you do a little extra damage. Lastly, in your ability tree, we got Shadow of Nyx. Now, this essentially lets you become invisible. I personally, I never made great use of it. If you're in a bush and you're maxed out on the Stealth Master, if they're not looking for you, they almost never find you. If they are looking for you, well, I mean, you're not the best assassin, so you had it coming. But it can be a very handy ability. Why I don't like it is it drains your adrenaline. Now, that's your ability to use all your abilities. So every time I went and hid and kind of, use this, I didn't want to just have it drained for no reason, so I just kind of ignored it. It can come in handy because you don't need a hiding place now. Just anywhere is a hiding place. But again, they provide lots. You don't really need that ability. And for those of you who are interested, that adrenaline cost to it, where it quickly consumed over time, there is a weapon set, or an armor set that you can get that actually completely negates that negative to adrenaline. So handy to have if you're going that route. The next thing I want to top on is the mastery levels. Now, once you reach a specific level, again, I don't remember the exact level, it's been a while, it gives you these mastery levels. Now, these, again, has the 3 main trees. And in them, there's 20 levels in each of these tier abilities, and there's a lot of them. So I'm not going to be going through them all, but they just overall extra way to level up your character once you hit level 99, as I have. You can continue to level. Each one will get you an extra mastery, which again you can spend in your main tree or in your mastery tree. It's basically the game's way of over leveling you. So the enemies don't get stronger, but you can eventually get all these abilities and you'll be the ultimate character which completely unrealistic, but that is my ultimate goal, is to get these all maxed out, but I don't expect to be doing that anytime soon. Alright, so we talked on those. What have we got here? So now those hide and seek things that I had mentioned a bit earlier, for those engravings. So here are your engravings, but if we go into this little bag here, we actually see these ones. So now these are something that I've already done, the check mark. These are done on different playthroughs. When I first started, I really got into it, but then I decided, you know what, because I'm going to be restarting, I didn't want to get too into it. I didn't know that these carried over. So since then I haven't spent a lot of time, because I've been focusing on getting my other starter horses, but which I've now done, so this playthrough is going to be a big completion one for me. But we have these. So it tells you the area. This is in Masara, and it'll tell you, a brief description of where it is. So atop Gnosis Palace, you'll see a tree that shoots for the stars. So I would have to find these locations, that's why I called it our hide and seek game. They kind of give me a clue, and I gotta find the hidden thing at these spots. Once I do, it gives me a check mark, I can go forward. The quest items, these are where all your quest related items are. See, I do already have some, though I've just started this game and haven't actually gone anywhere. These are pulled through from my previous playthroughs. Don't want to get into what they are, because that might be a spoiler for those of you that do not know. And then finally, I have trade goods. Now, these trade goods, they have no purpose other than to sell. As you can see, some of them are worth a nice amount of money, all the way up to, all sorts of things. So, I mean, I'm keeping them just because I don't need the money, but these are definitely things that you pick up just from killing. So you got like leopard skins, wolf fur, shark fins, killing sharks, lion fangs, so on and so forth. These are just various things you get from killing things or looting, random boxes, anything. But free money is free money. Alright, while we're here, another thing I want to touch on is just how well they set up the quest logs. So, 5 different tiers, and yeah, like they have your Odyssey, which is your main quests. They have add-on quests, so these are like your expansions. You have world and characters, so throughout the world you will run into random NPCs that might have a little side quest line for you. They'll show up here, as well as other side quests. They'll all pop up here. Then you have your bounties and contracts, which you can pick up at a bounty board, and they'll show you all your quests here. Finally, your map. As you can see, massive game. Like, it's a massive world. There's a lot of water area to explore. We start here on the tiny island, which, I mean, tiny in comparison. And yeah, it's just an overall fun game. If you have the chance, definitely recommend picking it up. And if you're looking forward to it, check out the videos of my actual playthrough. Alright, well, see you in the videos, guys.